Today I'm answering my Instagram followers' questions about English pronunciation, and I know most of you have the same questions. While watching this video, try and guess how much time it took me to learn everything I'm going to tell you today about English pronunciation. I'll say how long exactly at the end of this video. Let's start. How to stop pronouncing the r. I hate diving during the ush hour. The odds are so cowed. Okay, you probably meant how to stop pronouncing the r after vowels in words like learn, bar, or fourth. The first important thing is that you don't have to stop pronouncing it. In American and Irish English, the r after vowels is pronounced. It is actually a slightly different sound in these two accents. In Irish English, it's more or less like the r we pronounce at the beginning of a word, like road. So it's bar, while in American English we raise the back of our tongue. Bar. I'm not sure if you can hear the difference. Scottish English accents are also mostly rhotic, so they do pronounce the r after vowels. In standard Southern English, yes, the r is not pronounced. So once again, you don't have to stop pronouncing it, but you can, of course. How? By slowly training words where the letter R is spelled but not pronounced. Practice saying short words like bar, for. Start with short, one-syllable words, then try longer words, then phrases and sentences. Just keep practicing and you'll make it one day. ED in past simple. You have three options. Option number 1, pronounce id, 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 after t and d. Want, wanted. Attend, attended. Need, needed. Craft, crafted. In American English, it's often more like the schwa sound rather than the I. So it's more like ud rather than id. Wanted, attended, needed, crafted. Option number 2, pronounce t after unvoiced consonants. Like, liked, kt, liked. Slip, slipped. Tap, tapped. Cuff, cuffed. And I guess this is where the difficulty lies. You probably tend to say slipped and cuffed. I have just one tip. Don't think about cuffed as cuff plus ed. Think about it as one word. Memorize it as one word. The word that is spelled C-O-U-G-H-E-D has to exist as just one word in your brain. Cuffed. Let me know in the comments if you get what I mean. In faster speech though, when the verb ends in p or like, and what did we have? Slip. We don't usually pronounce both the consonants very clearly, so it's not really liked or slipped. Actually, I say liked, slipped. You almost drop the first consonant. Liked, light, slipped, slipped. Especially, as I've already said, when you speak really fast. And the third option, pronounce d after a voiced consonant or a vowel. For example, love, loved, climb, climbed, bathe, bathed, lie, lied. At least that's according to textbooks. It's not always exactly a d, but I'll explain why in the second part of this video, which I posted on my Patreon page because I need to motivate you to subscribe. Do you think it is safe to study pronunciation by yourself? Ouch! Of course. I'm working on my German pronunciation on my own, and I learned half of what I know and can do in terms of English pronunciation on my own. I've got several videos where I talk about how you can do it on your own, so I'll link them in the description. It's just easier and a little bit faster with a tutor, but it's not absolutely necessary. I can't distinguish some vowels, so I struggle to reproduce them. What should I do? Here are some things you can do. Get a book where they explain everything about how a vowel is produced, with the position of the tongue and the lips and everything. For example, English pronunciation in use, or work on your accent. Tap into your mind-muscle connection and really try to reproduce the same positions. Feel your tongue and your lips as you follow the instructions in the textbook. In my experience, it really helps to feel how different the vowels are with your own mouth, so later you'll be able to distinguish them better as well. This is the case in which it might be better to work with a tutor. The tutor will monitor how you're producing these sounds, give you feedback on whether you're doing it right, guide you in the exploration of your mouth and what sounds it is capable of producing. A good tutor will also prepare activities for you in which you'll have to say which sound is pronounced. For example, is it rid or read? Through. Tough one. It is. Let's break it down.
Through. No. Throw. No. Trog. No.
Let's pronounce the first and the last sounds first. Ooh. Ooh. Who. Who. Can you feel that the position of the tongue is almost identical for the two sounds? Now, the problem is how to squeeze that r in between. The first challenge is to move your tongue quickly between and r. To do that, don't stick out your tongue. Place it right behind your upper teeth. So not but rather. That allows you to move to r faster and easier. Let's practice this combination. Thr, 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 thr. Now, how do you go from r to oo? You slowly roll out your tongue, so the sound oo is not going to be the same at the beginning and at the end. It's going to sound more like oh, oh, oh. The tip of my tongue is high at the beginning because I start with the r sound actually, and then it rolls out to the end, closer to the end of this sound. Let's put them together. Roo, roo, roo. What you might have noticed as well is that I also move my lips. They are a little bit more open at the beginning when I'm pronouncing the r sound, and they close at the end of oo. Roo, roo, roo. So those two movements of the tongue and of the lips occur at the same time. Ooh, roo, roo. Now let's put them together. Through, 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 through. Rarely. So it's comprised of two parts, rare and li. Li is easy, I think, but how do we pronounce rare? In non-rhotic accents like British or Australian English, we basically pronounce the long eh sound. I know, in dictionaries you'll see this, but in fact, in these accents, the diphthong air is usually transformed into a long air. So you hear people say bear instead of bear, fair instead of fair, or rare instead of rare. It's basically the same e sound as in the word pet, but just long. Fair, bear, rare. Now we just add the ly, and we end up with rarely, rarely. You can, of course, still pronounce the diphthong there. Rarely, rarely. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I have no idea whether I pronounced it correctly, but seriously speaking, I hope, and I relied on the words that I already know. Super, that's easy. Cali, like calligraphy, fragile, like fragile, fragilistic, like ballistic, expire, I don't know, like expire, ocious, like ferocious. Did I get it right? Oh, we had rarely. Now the question is about really. Rarely, really, really. How natives pronounce it in natural speech, modern RP. This person is asking about modern RP, but actually it's more or less the same in all accents. Although here's what the dictionary says, the is not usually pronounced. So you can pronounce it as really, really, with a long E as in read. You can pronounce it as really, with a short I as in risk. And you can pronounce it as really, really. So basically using the same vowel as in risk, but making it long. Really, really, really. Salary, celery. So basically the difference is the same as in man and men, pat and pet. In different accents, these two vowels, a and e, can be pronounced in different ways. For example, the a sound can be broader and a bit closer to the a sound, pat, 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 or narrower, pat, pat, pat. The same for e. It can be broader, pet, 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 or narrower, pit, pit, pit. But within each accent, the a sound is always broader, more open than the e sound. By broader, I mean that we open our mouth wider and bring the tongue lower. For example, I pronounce the a like this, a, a. So you can see that my mouth is relatively wide open and my tongue lies flat. And here's how I pronounce the e sound. E, e, e. The mouth is not open that wide and the tongue is raised a little bit higher. And, important note, it is the position of the tongue that is decisive. For example, in American English, the difference in how wide the mouth is open is not that big, but the position of the tongue is different. So that's why in any accent, when you pronounce salary, so it's the a sound, you're going to bring your tongue a little bit lower than in celery, celery, salary. So that's, for example, how I pronounce it, salary, celery. But I'll just remind you that it is different in different accents. I've answered 9 questions today. I'll answer 9 more precisely these questions on my Patreon page. Over there, you get weekly lessons on topic that are rarely explained in textbooks. I also regularly upload worksheets that you can use as a learner or a teacher of English. The link to my Patreon page is in the description. A huge thank you to everyone who is already a paid subscriber there. You're amazing. Now, how long did it take me to learn all of this stuff as a non-native speaker of English? So I spent about 5 or 6 years practicing my own pronunciation and also studying the pronunciation so as to be able to explain things like I did today. So 5 to 6 years. Is that a lot? Let me know what you think in the comments. My name's Ina Mesensova. You've been watching Ina in English. See you in the next one.